everyone, good day. May I ask, how are you today? If you're fine, then that's good. And if you're not so fine, then that's okay. Always remember the saying, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. It's, say, it's a saying by Frederick Douglass. So, okay, for For today's video, well, we will going to tackle about the telephone conversation by Wole Soyinka. But before that, let's talk first about who is Wole Soyinka, or who is the author of the telephone conversation. Who is Wole Soyinka? His real name is kinda long, and I don't know if I pronounce it right, but his complete name is Akinwandi Olowoli Babatundi Soyinka, or also known as Wole Soyinka. Wole Soyinka is a Nigerian playwright, a poet, novelist, and essayist in the English literature. He was born on July 13, 1934 and raised at Abeokuta, Nigeria. In 1986, he got awarded the first Black African got the award of Nobel Prize for Literature. So that is the author of the poem Telephone Conversation. So in the next slide is the piece of Wole Soyinka entitled Telephone Conversation. But we're not going to read the poem. We're just going to interpret the lines later on. So you can read it by yourself. Just pause the video to read. Okay? Thank you. So let's proceed to our next slide, which is the abouts of the poem. The poem is a poetic satire on racism. It means it contains on prejudice, discrimination, or criticizing people's stupidity or vices. It is a telephone conversation between a white landlady and a prospective black tenant. Racial bias and color prejudice of the landlady and the control anger of the tenant has been highlighted in the poem. So, the poem contains discrimination of color happened from the white landlady, and the controlled anger of the tenant who happened is the black man. So that is the summary of the poem Telephone Conversation.
Text of the poem, line 1 to 5. There was nothing objectionable so far as the location was concerned. But when the caller learns that the landlady is a white, he has to confess that he is a black. The price seemed reasonable, location indifferent. The landlady swore she lived off premises. Nothing remained but self-confession. Madam, I warned I hate a waste journey. I am African.
So in line 6 to 9, it shows there the impact of revelation in the landlady who was a rich woman. So in these lines, it's a revelation of the white landlady. So the white landlady there was a rich woman.
How dark! I had not misheard. Are you light or very dark? Button B, button A, stench 15 of rancid, breath of public hide and speak. Red booth, red Peller box, red tiered omnibus squelching tar. It was real, shamed by ill-mannered silence, surrender, pushed dumbfoundment to beg simplification. Considerate, she was varying the emphasis. Are you dark or very light? Revelation came. You mean like plain or milk chocolate? Her accent was clinically crushing in its light and personality, rapidly wavelength adjusted. I choose West African sepia, and as an afterthought, down in my passport, silence for spectroscopic flight of fancy till truthfulness change her accent.
In line 10 to 35, the interpretation is the landlady asks him to describe the color of his skin. The caller feels insulted in being a victim of racial prejudice. But the landlady, still unaware of the irony, hangs up the phone.
The theme of the poem is racism and xenophobia. Wole Soyinka tries to raise awareness of the fact that skin color should not matter in an open-minded and educated society.
The conflict is man versus man. This narrative poem focuses on the conflict between a black man and a white woman, which extends to the conflict between the two races in society. The point of view is written in the first narrative point of view.
Moral lesson engages in a moral indictment of language itself, and more particularly in the surreptitious slippage between meaning and prejudice. This is not a poem that seeks serenity in language but demands transformation, change, and most of all, awareness. Soyinka wrote this poem because in the poem Telephone Conversation, Wole Soyinka is trying to highlight the impact of racial discrimination in the microstructure of society. The title of the poem clearly reveals that two people are talking on the phone, and the theme of racial discrimination is carried out through dialogue form.
Mm. The next slide is the ironical words. We have included the ironical words since the literary devices that used in the poem is irony. So the ironical words in the poem was self-confession warned, like as if he has committed a crime. Good breeding, where she puts a very silly question to the caller. Considerate she was. The very question she put is kinda harsh. Also, the symbolic words of the poem was as you have read the poem, you will read the word button B, button A, which is the confusion of the color or the black man's confusion. The reed boot, pillar box, red double carried omnibus, which is the anger of the black man. So that was the ironical and symbolic words of the poem Telephone Conversation by Wole Soyinka. So in the next slides was our references. You can use this if you want to know more about the telephone conversation by Wole Soyinka. So we are the Group 8 reporters. I am Maya Grace Rosalejos together with my group Reyes Monica, Rusquetas Charlamagne, and Quevedo John. So that's all, and thank you. Have a great day, everyone.